today we are testing out the Downshiftology Healthy Meal Prep Cookbook by Lisa Bryan. Lisa is actually a YouTuber and she has a really popular channel and has really great recipes. I've actually made several of her recipes for different holidays and occasions and they always turn out great. Anyway, I bought her cookbook when it first came out and I haven't had a chance to make anything from it yet. And so I thought that we would try it together today and then I can recommend to you guys whether I think you should buy it or not. So this cookbook is written in a meal prep style. It kind of starts out with a lot of different tips and tricks for meal prepping components of recipes, and then it goes into some detailed meal plans where it basically uses the recipes in the book and then you prep those and then use those items as components to make varied meals throughout the week. I really love the concept of this because I don't really want to eat the same thing over and over again every day all week. So we're going to do meal prep idea number 2, which includes some cilantro lime shrimp, some different veggies, a dessert, some coconut rice, and then I did substitute some chicken sausage patties in place of the pancakes just because I prefer savory breakfast. But I'm gonna take you through all of this meal prep today and then I'll show you all of the different and varied meals that you can come up with these meal prep components. I really enjoyed doing this and came up with some great combinations and great recipes. We're gonna go ahead and start with the dessert, which are the key lime tartlets. This is the recipe that definitely takes the longest out of the whole batch and you have to chill it in the fridge. So I wanted to make sure and start that first, but I'm putting all of the crust ingredients together in my food processor, some nuts and coconut, and I'm also going to add some dates. There's no refined sugar in this recipe, so it uses maple syrup and dates to sweeten the crust. This recipe also happens to be vegan, so I'm going to go ahead and add some melted coconut oil into the food processor. And then for this step, you basically just want to pulse the nuts and the coconut and all of the crust ingredients until it comes together. But make sure you don't over process it because at this point, since you have a lot of nuts in your food processor, this could actually turn into nut butter really quick. So you basically just want to kind of pulse it until all of the crumbs are the same size. I went ahead and set that aside and then I'm going to work on the filling. So I love anything key lime or lime flavored. It's like one of my favorite desserts. So I was super excited to try this. I don't remember if I've showed this to you guys before, but I actually have an electric citrus juicer. This thing is magic for when you have to juice a lot of citrus. So I'll link it down below along with all of the other kitchen tools that I'm using. If I forget something, just let me know and I'll reply to your comment. But this recipe, since it's dairy free, it does use some soaked raw cashews in the filling part of the recipe. So I had soaked those overnight the night before. I just drained them in the sink, made sure they were dry, and then I'm adding them to my food processor, which I rinsed out along with that lime zest and lime juice. I really wish I could have found key limes to do this recipe with, but sometimes in the Midwest, you just have to work with what you have. I'm going to go ahead and add my maple syrup for sweetness, and then some vanilla bean paste as well. I do think that if I had key limes and I would have had the chance to use those, it would have made the lime flavor a little bit more strong. You do want to go ahead and process this filling for quite a while until it becomes smooth. And if you've never worked with soaked cashews like this before, it does kind of create like this creamy texture without the dairy, which every time I do a recipe like that, I always think it's super interesting. So I did not have any mini tart pans, so I'm deciding to use a mini muffin tin. This little tool that I actually have here that I'm pushing down the crust with, I think is from Pampered Chef, and it's actually a tool for this where you basically use it to like push down a crust in a mini muffin tin. This recipe is so fussy. And I have to tell you guys, I know I feel like I'm starting out with a dud here, but I don't think I can recommend this recipe because I feel like the fussiness of it and, you know, compared to like the taste of the recipe, there was not enough bang for my buck there. I think there's lots of different ways that you can make, you know, key lime pie or key lime tarts. Now, I will say if you're looking for something that's like vegan, refined sugar free, you know, paleo, whatever kind of diet that you're on, something like this would probably be great for that. But if you're just looking for key lime tarts, I can't recommend this recipe, but it was fun to try. All right, so now we are gonna go ahead and prep our rice. This rice recipe, I highly recommend. It turned out so good, and I'm gonna go ahead and make it in my rice cooker because I have been loving my rice cooker. I'll link it down below. It has been saving me in the kitchen because it makes perfect rice every time. And it's been a long time since I made rice with coconut milk, so I forgot how delicious it is. But basically I went ahead and washed off my rice, put it in my instant pot. I guess it is actually an instant pot rice cooker. But anyway, put it in my rice cooker, and then I needed 3 cups of liquid. So I'm basically using a whole can of coconut milk, and then the remainder of the liquid is water. Especially when you're cooking in a rice cooker, you just want to make sure that you follow the directions for the ratios of rice to water. And then I added some salt and a squeeze of honey per the recipe directions. Went ahead and popped that into my rice cooker, and then you just set this on white rice and it will automatically cook it to perfection. Highly recommend you making coconut rice if you haven't made it recently. In fact, we just had the leftovers tonight with a different chicken dish that I made because we had plenty of rice to last us throughout the week. And you wouldn't think that it would be such a time saver, but it is. So just because I like to cook and meal prep doesn't mean that I always can or have time to. And I am excited to let you guys know that today Factor is sponsoring this video. I've been working with them for such a long time here on my channel, and you guys know I love their meals. In fact, today I had one of the breakfast meals, so I wanted to show you that one. It was a frittata and it had potatoes in it, and then it came also with this cream sauce. It was delicious, only 390 calories and super filling. With Factor, you can get chef prepared meals on the table in just 2 minutes. All of their meals are fresh, never frozen. All you have to do is just pop them in the microwave for 2 minutes and you have got yourself a healthy meal that is gonna keep you satisfied and keep you out of the drive-thru. One thing I also love about Factor is they just have a ton of different options for meals. So no matter what kind of diet you want, they've got you covered. And if for some reason you guys haven't tried Factor yet, now is the time to take advantage of this awesome deal. You guys can use my link. Head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Chapin50. That's gonna give you 50% off your first Factor box, and you're also gonna get 20% off your next month of orders. Like I said, they have tons of meals to choose from. You can even get breakfast. They also have fresh juice, smoothies, all kinds of great stuff on there. So I hope you guys try it out. Once again, the link is factor75.com, which I'll have the link in the description box below. And you can use code Chapin50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. I really hope you guys try it out. Next up, we're going to make these chicken, maple, and tarragon breakfast patties. I was really excited to try this recipe because I just did a meal prep video a few weeks ago, Joshua Wiseman's meal prep. If you guys haven't seen that yet, go check it out. But anyway, in that video, I made some homemade turkey sausage breakfast patties that were really good. And so I was excited to try this recipe as well. So it called for some chopped onion. I cannot stand like big chunks of onion in like my hamburgers or sausage patties or anything like that. So I went ahead and grated the onion, and it worked out perfectly because you get that onion flavor without the big chunks. And then I'm using a pound of lean ground chicken. I also had this garlic from the farmer's market. If you ever get the chance to get like fresh grown garlic from the farmer's market, I highly recommend you take the chance because it is so much more delicious than supermarket garlic. It's like very strong and pungent. I don't know how to explain it otherwise. It's just really good. And then I went ahead and chopped up my tarragon. This is an herb that I find can be kind of hard to find around where I am. I wouldn't say there's like a super good substitute for it. Maybe use flat leaf parsley if you can't find it. Then I'm gonna add in some salt, pepper. I added some maple syrup as well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up with a fork just to kind of keep the mixture light, but make sure that everything is mixed together. One thing I will say about working with ground chicken is that it is super, super sticky and it's hard to form the patties. So the best way that I have found to kind of help with this is just make sure that you wet your hands with cold water as you're forming the patties. If you don't do that, the mixture will stick to your hands and it will just be a mess. And you can even see, even though I did that my patties were still a little bit uneven. But anyway, I made it all work. I fried those up in a nonstick skillet and it turned out really good. Okay, so next I'm gonna make this recipe for the honey oat granola. So I've got all my ingredients set out right here. One tip that I have is, especially for nuts, these can be very expensive, obviously, and a very expensive ingredient. So you can freeze nuts. I actually froze these probably over 6 months ago, and I just vacuum sealed them, put them in the freezer. I'm gonna go ahead and take them out and decant them. These are pecans. I also have some coconut flakes, some oatmeal, ground flax seed, and then this is just 1/4 cup of coconut oil that I melted in the microwave and cooled off. Some salt, cinnamon, vanilla extract, or I'm gonna use vanilla bean paste, and then about 1/2 cup of honey. So I'm gonna add my coconut oil to a bowl. Anytime you make granola, you want to mix kind of like the liquid ingredients together along with the spices and sugar and maple syrup and whatever you're using first, because you want, I mean, obviously that's going to coat all of the granola and the nuts, right? So you want to make sure that that's well combined before you combine it with the rest of the ingredients. So I put my honey in there and my coconut oil, added some salt and some cinnamon as well. And then I'm just giving that a good whisk. This mixture was a little bit like thick and stiff. Even after I added the vanilla, I was kind of concerned that I wasn't going to be able to mix it very well with the oats. So I went ahead and just set it on the warm stove to kind of loosen up a little bit. Obviously I had the oven preheating for the granola, so I ended up warming it up a little bit and it worked just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and chop my pecans up. You can really use any kind of nuts in granola that you want. I wanted to follow the recipe directions just so I could let you guys know how it turned out. So I added those in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add my 2.5, I believe, cups of rolled oats to the mix. And then it also called for some toasted coconut, so I added that along with some ground flaxseed. The picture in the cookbook showed like the large flakes of coconut. I can't find those where I'm at. I looked at a couple different grocery stores. I think if I were going to use them, I'd have to order them from Thrive or something like that. But really all you need is unsweetened shredded coconut. So you can just use, you know, whatever you can find in your grocery store. So I'm just mixing this really well with a spatula. And then I have a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. And so I'm just going to turn the granola out onto that. And then I like to spread it out and then kind of pack it down a little bit, not totally, but just in some spots so that you can get kind of those big clumpy, crunchy pieces. And once you put this in the oven, you bake it according to the recipe, but then also kind of flip and turn it as it's baking. And you can see you get these delicious, crunchy clusters. I love having granola to put on my yogurt, but then it's also just really good to eat in a bowl with some fruit and some milk as a cereal if you want to as well. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the cilantro lime shrimp. I think this was probably my favorite recipe out of the bunch. For the cilantro lime shrimp, I went ahead and took a bag of really large frozen shrimp that I had in the freezer. I've had these for a while and haven't known what to do with them, so this is a great way to use them. But all you have to do with frozen shrimp is just put it in a bowl, cover it with cold water, and it will defrost. They will defrost pretty quickly. Now these are already deveined, but they're not peeled. So I'm just taking the peel and the tail off. The recipe in the book says to leave the tails on, but for meal prep, I don't prefer to do that because then when you go to eat this, it's just like a hassle. You have to remove the tails. All right, so we're gonna add our shrimp to the bowl here. I'm gonna toss with just a little bit of oil, some kosher salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. So you also need about 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons of lime juice, which is about 2 limes, and some lime zest. So if you're gonna make this recipe, I recommend it because it's delicious. However, you need to change one thing, and I did this against my better judgment, but I went ahead and threw the minced garlic in first but the oil was really hot, and as you can see, the garlic started to burn, so I had to pick some of those pieces out as I went ahead with the recipe. If I had it to do over, I would add the shrimp first, let the pan cool down a little bit, and then add the minced garlic, just so I'm not having those little burnt bits of garlic on the bottom of the pan. But anyway, I still salvaged it. It still turned out great. You can see I got a nice sear on both sides of the shrimp. And then once it was cooked on both sides, I went ahead and added the lime juice, turned off the heat, and just kind of shook that around, gave it a taste, seasoned with salt and pepper, and then added some cilantro, some chopped cilantro at the end. If I made this recipe over, I would actually probably double it or even triple it, just because I felt like it was not enough shrimp for meal prep, but the flavors were delicious. Okay, so next I'm going to put together this lemon vinaigrette. And again, this is another winning recipe. Highly recommend this one as well. I'm going to take my lemons and squeeze some juice into a measuring cup there. I'm going to add some olive oil, some of that delicious farmer's market garlic. In fact, I'm just thinking, wow, I want to go back again next weekend and get some more. I'm going to add a little bit of honey and then some Dijon mustard, some salt, and then go ahead and give that a shake. Anytime you're making like homemade vinaigrette dressing, it's really just easiest to put it into a mason jar and just shake it up. You don't have to dirty a blender or anything like that. So now basically everything has come together, and I'm going to start kind of packing up my containers and prepping some of the other veggies and just showing you guys what you can make with this food. Now, I did not time myself because I did this prep over like the course of a day, and I was doing other things in between. But if I had to estimate, I would say that you could probably do this in like an hour and a half to 2 hours. It kind of just depends on how fast you are in the kitchen. This is definitely way less fussy than the Joshua Weissman meal prep that I did. And I think if I did this again next time, I would cut out the key lime tartlets and do maybe another dessert from the book or something like that, maybe something that was a little bit easier. Anyway, I'm chopping up some fresh herbs to go on my meals throughout the week. So some green onion and some cilantro, and then I also washed up some fruit. So these will go great on the yogurt bowls with that homemade granola. So I'm adding some blueberries to here. And then I just went ahead and grabbed some pre-cut mango from the store. I kind of regretted my decision because it wasn't the best mango in that it was kind of a little bit hard, but whatever. Sometimes you just have to take the help that you can get from the grocery store. So I'm just cutting that up into small cubes, and basically, you know, having everything like this ready to go. I always feel like I underestimate how much it's going to help me during the week, but it really, really does help to have all of this stuff prepped in your fridge. And especially with some of these building blocks like rice and protein and veggies and fruits and different things like that, there's really just so many different combinations that you can put together. So I also washed up some cucumbers and got those ready to go. But this is like the variety of food that I was able to make. The other thing I really like about this cookbook is that not only are the recipes delicious, but they're also pretty healthy as well. And I think they fit a lot of different dietary types depending on what you're doing. So I wanted to kind of show you some of what I put together. I love any type of like sausage, English muffin sandwich, and I don't even really like an egg on mine. So I just put it together with some white cheddar cheese and the sausage patties and a toasted English muffin. And that is a super quick breakfast, especially when I'm working from home. That literally takes me like less than 5 minutes to put together. And then this yogurt bowl also turned out really good. I just had some plain vanilla protein yogurt, so I added the fruit to that along with a sliced up banana. Again, took me literally 3 minutes to put together. This rice bowl I made in under 5 minutes, just heated up the shrimp and the rice and chopped up some cucumber. And then this is kind of like a play on ceviche. So it's that chopped shrimp with some cilantro and avocado and mango. Add some lime juice to there. Really, really fresh, like light summer lunch. And you could also have that shrimp and rice bowl as a dinner as well. These are some lettuce wraps that you can put together with the cooked shrimp and some butter lettuce, some of that lemon vinaigrette. And then, oh gosh, this salad was so, so good. It's like a goat cheese salad that I put together with some berries and pecans and some fresh dill, and that lemon vinaigrette went together so, so perfectly. So many combinations, you know, that you can do with all of these different ingredients. I'm actually looking forward to making some more recipes out of this book. And then I also want to show you kind of how the key lime tartlets turned out. They were a little bit soft, although I did spray my pan really well, so I was able to get them out of the pan, but you can see that they did kind of fall apart a little bit even after I chilled them. But they were still good. I mean, I would say, you know, it tastes like what it is, which is a very nutty, healthier key lime pie bite type deal situation. Anyway, if you guys want to try them out, let me know. I'll link the cookbook down below, along with the kitchen tools that I used. But overall, I would recommend this cookbook. I think that especially if you're a beginner, also it has some great tips in there in terms of how to prep and store things, and some great recipes as well. And don't forget to check out Factor. Even though I love to meal prep, I don't always have time, so Factor comes in clutch. And if you guys want to see my last video where I made the top rated New York Times sandwich recipes, you can click on this video right here.